Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack Productions. Today, Bankrupt joined once again by Jake and Fluff.
Well, what's going on, y'all?
What's up, beautiful people?
And today's matchup is Jake versus Fluff. Jake has brought back the beautiful golden leader he has here, which is Trunks and Vegeta, and Fluff has brought us GT. It's not a metal leader because I don't think they've made the metal leader yet for that one. Have they?
I think they've announced the art, but I don't know if it's in production yet. We'll see.
And, oh yeah, there's buttons down below. Feel free to put stuff there and click and whatnot. But let's get into today's matchup. I can't talk.
So,
Yeah.
I really didn't know how things were gonna go in this matchup. I actually hadn't even tested this before, so I really had not much of a frame of reference on where my battle cards were gonna stack up against the line of red battle cards, since we're both pretty much battle card decks.
I was honestly kind of worried about this match, just because I know kind of what Trunks Vegeta can do as far as its hand size and the quality of cards that it can put on the field. It has a lot of destruction for a yellow deck, which can really halt and slow down the GT player. So my option is to be as aggressive as I possibly can early on. Even though I'm going to be feeding you resources doing it.
Yeah, it's better to get a little bit of pressure in at the early turns before I have extra energy outside of what I need for my own game plan.
Yeah. And also considering how quickly you awaken versus how early I would rather be awakened.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I know when I play GT, I try and awaken not as soon as possible, but I don't want to sit around on the front side of my game, or the front side of my card the entire game. And then I know players like Jimmy want only to awaken to get the extra 5k power before they go to kill. So where do you fall in the when should GT awaken kind of camp?
I like to try to get 2 to 3 turns out of the place a Saiyan battle card, draw 2. I like to get 2 to 3 turns out of that, just because your drawing really slows down after the first 2 turns, really. Usually at that point, you've kind of committed what cards you have under your unison, so you're not getting the cycling off of that. So the leader is what is going to continue you cycling through resources in your deck. And you'll even see in this matchup, I think there's I've run out of actual GT cards to start putting under, or to keep putting under the unison. So I end up having to put stuff like my Vegeta Resolve Renewed, and I think I end up having to put a Fearless Pan under it, just to be able to get those effects.
And that doesn't feel good when you can't get full value of what you load underneath the unison, because
Correct.
otherwise those are pretty powerful effects that you would rather keep in your hand.
Yeah.
I'm actually seeing your hand right now, and I only see 2 Saiyans right now there, which will kind of explain. I think if I recall, you awakened during this turn. I think of Jake's actually.
Yeah.
I may be wrong, but yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I go on ahead and awaken. And that's just to try to get a couple cards into my hand, because the cards that are currently in my hand aren't doing anything in the current game state. And where Jake has already flipped his leader over, I'm going to have my leader flipped over for my leader to be effectual against his without costing me cards in my hand.
Now, I don't know off the top of my head if Jake plays a secret or which secret he plays.
I'm playing off the knowledge that Jake plays Xenocell as his kill, as his secret rare. I could be wrong, but that was what I was playing with the knowledge of.
I've actually gone back and forth on this, and I really think that Trunks Vegeta kind of benefits from the defensive power of Pan, more than like the extra kill pressure from Cell. So I'm actually running like a more defensive secret rare and running Pan, especially because you're just going to spam the board all the time, and your leader can make her cost like 4 less energy by himself. So even if your opponent isn't playing battle cards, she's still live.
Yeah.
Because that was a fear of mine. Like when I saw you charge, I'm like, oh man, if Jake has Kai, I think Fluff just like lost it.
I knew that Jake didn't play Kai. And that's just, I know what Jake has. And I knew, so I was kind of using that game knowledge that I didn't have to worry about Kai coming out of Jake.
Fair enough.
And if it did, then that just serves me right for assuming, right? So I was playing with that game knowledge in mind.
Yeah, I think Fluff knows that my favorite secret rares are the one you don't have to spend energy on, and Xenocell and Pan both kind of fall into that category. So I think it's just kind of like a 50-50 on him trying to figure out like which one I'm going for and how my overall game plan is going to shake out. So here I'm just going to go into the deck and grab a Trunks. Yeah, they're both barriers, so we just kind of...
They both have barrier, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just like, yeah, you probably don't want to cast that. He's like, you're right. So, really from here, he's got a ton of pressure on the table and a lot of potential pressure under his leader. So my goal is to just try and stabilize as much as I can, because while I am flipped over and I have evolved a couple times, my hand size isn't like giant in comparison to Fluff's, which is something that I would much rather have. Like, I would much rather have like a 4 or 5 card lead at this stage of the game, and really we're within like 1 or 2 cards of each other. So my plan is to just try and remove things from his board and kind of like sure up those card economy numbers a little bit. And I think here I even go for like another card draw play. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this, and then I was really afraid of the 3-drop coming out. And then, of course, it did come out. And this 3-drop does a lot versus GT, because a lot of the draw power comes from, or the cycle power, we'll say, comes from the battle cards, comes from the unisons, especially now that I'm Awakened.
Yeah.
So this slug really puts a wrench in my gears. Really is going to slow me down a whole lot, to the point that I may even opt to not activate some of my loading effects just to not lose cards in my hand. Like this Goku, I'm not doing the loading effect because I'm not going to get the draw to replace the card that I'm going to give up.
Right. And overall, like, or over multiple turns, the course of multiple turns, like, it really grinds down your hand size, which is kind of like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do at this stage of the game, or like before I drew into the 1 and 3 drop slugs, but once I saw that like a hand differential was starting to build, I realized like the card economy game was probably how I was going to win this, rather than with like a big flashy play.
So, got a quick question. This was my assumption before Jake plays Pan. Fluff, you play Yamcha to just bait out the autos. That way you can play another card.
Correct.
Yeah, but following up the Pan just shuts that down.
Yeah. So I could play, my thought was to go into the GT trio there. So I could do that. But it just basically is, let me give you the permission to take my big boss monster. So I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And that was like the perfect window, because I had the Yamcha to bait out the effects on both Poutine and Trunks before going into it. And I start to kind of realize that I'm probably not going to have an opportunity like that again.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really going to have to burn energy.
In the moment, I didn't see how that play was like how really like crushing or really just really locked up your turn the way that pan worked.
Yeah.
And I know like last week we had a video where somebody played pan and their opponent was playing GT and could potentially go ahead and play the 8-drop anyway, even though pan's effect was already in, and I kind of criticized that line of play. But I feel like there are a lot of differences in the board state in that game and in this game, and maybe if you guys are interested, I could do like a 5-minute video or something comparing the two board states and why it's different. But like, I wasn't really happy with the play when I made it, but seeing it now, I just didn't realize how oppressive it was for you at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it completely turned me off. Like, as far as being able to continue playing that turn, it just completely turns everything off. And here, having to play around Trunks and Poutine, you got double Trunks up, which is going to be like 2 blockers that I've got to get through every turn.
And they have barrier too, so they're protected,
and
right?
They have, yes, and they have barrier too. So I'm starting to see kind of my window closing more and more rapidly. Like, my ability to actually close this game out is just going to dwindle from here on out, unless I can do something about the pressure on your field. So I have to get rid of that slug. I'd like to get rid of that 8-drop, and I'd like to get rid of the pan. Here, fuck up because I'm an idiot. I draw off the super combos despite the slug. I promise you, it doesn't change the game.
I didn't notice it until after, and you were like, "What do we do?" And I'm just like, "Just take it." I didn't call it. Like, if you're gonna play this card in your deck, you need to be willing to remind your opponent because you need to remember to remind your opponent because drawing is something that is so ambiguous with card effects in this game.
Yep.
So it's my fault that I didn't call it. So he gets those cards.
And there's a lot happening on this field too. Like, it's really difficult to try to keep up with what exactly is going on. And kind of elaborating on that fact, I completely forget about the activate battle on this Trunks Vegeta and just lose for like the 3rd turn in a row. Just have this soul crushing loss of momentum.
Yeah, it's like your pressure just got pushed out like 3 turns in a row, just like you said.
And it's one of those things like you don't see. At least I've never really seen it be used more defensively. I've always seen it kind of as a,
as it's used aggressively.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you see triple strike crit. Well, that's an aggressive ability, but he kept me out of combat.
Correct me if I'm wrong, real quick. Doesn't that activate battle also restand it though?
No. It actually pops 2 battle cards in rest mode and draws you a card. So we actually forgot to pop an extra battle card, but it ends up not super mattering because of all the rest effects on my board.
Yeah, I have no choice but to try to at least clear your field as much as possible. Knowing what you have and what you don't have. What I hope you don't have. And I feel pretty comfortable getting your field kind of cleaned up with just the slug and the 2 trunks. And then the basil comes down and my butt puckers a little bit.
Yeah, basil is just such good pressure for 1 energy. I think a certain YouTube channel rated it one of the top 10 1-drops in history.
Yeah.
That the link to that video might be in the description to this one. So, or it could be in like a bubble floating.
Let's be honest, it probably won't.
All right, now.
So, I've gotten, I won't say flag, but like questions about this Dark Temptation Toa as my Overrealm choice. How did it feel like playing against it, Fluff? I mean, obviously you just immediately killed it, but
yeah, I mean, it was really good. It cost me a card out of hand, and then forced me to use a Yamcha, which just got rested. So it did actually feel really good. You know, from your perspective, it felt effective against me because it drew 2 cards out of my hand essentially, and then you swing with lead there. And I think the comment made was, "Do you have Champa?" And then yes, and then Gentleman's Scoop.
yeah,
Because I knew that the hand differential at that point was enough that you would most certainly be able to combo through and just wrap the game up from there.
yeah. I don't know if I flashed my hand, but I did have the Isekai. I didn't just lie, you know?
Yeah, you put it down at the very end.
Okay.
Yeah, you put it down and showed it out.
And then here, I'm just showing what I brought in for this matchup, just for power and time.
I didn't know what to bring in for this matchup, so I was sitting there looking at my sideboard, what could have come in that would have been a little bit more effective. And I still don't know the answer to that question. Trunks Vegeta is such a tricky deck to play against.
Do you play by any chance, before we end this video, the Kaioken Son Goku in your sideboard?
I played it a 1-of.
Okay. I mean, I know it only hits 1 card with barrier, but if you were to straight play it, it hits a board, though.
Yeah.
Cease to exist is another option to consider, even though it's inefficient. You can clear 2 barrier targets, 20k or less, right?
25.
I think so. Yeah.
25. Yeah, that's really good against Trunks Vegeta.
But yeah, with that being said, thank you for your opportunity in today's video. Keep in mind, there's buttons down below and on the screen. There's the other word I was thinking of. Fluff, would you lead us out?
Of course. As always, read your cards, know your plays, let us make the mistakes so that you don't have to, and fluff out.